to educate, motivate, and build one another through shared knowledge and success. This is Young and Successful, and these are your hosts, Jay Chukwi, Kenny Awashika, and PJ Luminan.
Welcome back to the Young and Successful podcast. Today, we have another guest, Mr. Harsh Pareek. Mr. Harsh Pareek was born in middle-class India, grew up in the city of Jaipur. In 2007, he moved to the United States and obtained his master's degree in computer science. Later on, he worked as a software developer, and even when he moved back to India, also worked as a software developer and found out that this was not actually his passion. So he started a custom clothing brand, which was also very successful. When he became married, he changed some priorities, right? And headed back into the tech world as a business analyst. And from strength to strength, he's received over 3 promotions in a matter of 4 years. He also has a beautiful wife and 2 amazing dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Harsh Pareek.
Thank you.
How was that intro, sir?
Good.
It was good.
Much better than I knew it could be.
You know, I've been working at this, man. I'm starting to have a magic touch with the words now. So I want to thank you, first of all, for even taking the time out to join us today. It really means a lot to us. Very excited for this one. And just to share your experience with the world and for us to be part of that, allowing us to be part of that, it's always amazing. And it means a lot to us, as I said. So thank you.
It's an honor. It's a great thing that you're doing. Like when I was growing up, I did not have any such podcasts to watch and learn from already successful people.
Right.
Everyone just told me just study, focus on studying, not on these other things that you need to be successful.
So, Arish, tell us a little bit about your story, because that's what we're all about here. Tell us how you all got started. Living in India, coming to the US, then going back to the India and coming back to the US. I'm sure it must have been quite an interesting journey.
It's been a roller coaster. Like even when I tell my friends or talk to them about it, they're like, this has been crazy. Like normally people study, get a job, get married, and it's smooth sailing, like some ups and downs, but you have been like all over the place. So I grew up in India, and when I was doing my undergrad, we used to live near the airport, and I used to look at these airplanes, and I'm like, one day I'll sit in the airplane. And then first time I sat in an airplane was when I had to come to US for my master's, and coming to a new country and learning how things work in a new country is a challenge in itself. And on top of that, you have to study for your master's. And on top of that, you have to earn a living, because we got, all of us who came from India to study to US, we got the loan for the education or tuition fee,
Right.
but you have to earn your living. So you work, and then you have to cook, you have to do the laundry. And it's like just too much. When I think about those days, I'm like, how come we had so much time to do all of those things and like play video games and play cards still?
Right.
Young and restless.
Anyway, after
know?
that one, I got my first job in Wisconsin, Madison. So coming from India, New Jersey was cold enough, and then I decided to move to Madison, and it was just insanely cold. It was like, who decided to have a civilization here? These conditions are inhumane. And then the recession hit, and I had to move back to India because the visa is such that you can stay here only if you have a job.
Yeah.
So that was a disappointment. The first real setback in my life, I would say. Losing a job, no matter what's the reason, you just get a shock.
Yeah.
But I moved back to India, found a job there, and now this is my second job as a software developer, and I was still not liking it. So I'm glad that I took that decision to give it up and start a custom clothing business, because I can tell you that a lot of people just continue to do the job that they're in because it's paying the bills.
Right.
And it's not worth it to be miserable for the rest of your life if you're not liking it and if it does not suit your personality.
Absolutely. Now, let me kind of roll back here a little bit because I mean you've hit us with a lot. Moving here from India, it sounds like you kind of had there was a goal, right? And there was a mission. Like I'm gonna go here, and this is what I'm going to do because this is the destination at the end. How did you make that transition from going from essentially the tech world, right, into becoming a designer or into clothing or merchant or apparel, if you will? Is it something you've always been interested in, or is it something that you picked up along the way?
No, like I'm sure that during our conversation, we will talk about luck and opportunities as well. And this was one of those things that one of my close family friends had been doing this business. And he knew that I'm not liking what I'm doing. So he said that, look, I'm into this business. I cover only 3 countries. You like to travel. You have good communication skills. I
Mm.
think you'll be able to sell. Um, so you just pick a few other countries, and you can join me. So he had the infrastructure set up. So yes, I left what I was doing, but then capitalized on this opportunity that I got. Not something that I was always interested in myself to start as a business, but you have to be pragmatic as well whenever you're making such a big switch. That
Yep.
what is feasible? Like, should I set everything up from ground zero, um, or take this opportunity where the potential of starting to earn money, the curve is shorter.
Of course.
So I learned the trade from him, and then I picked Germany, Austria as my places to go, because it was custom clothing business and our manufacturing was in Hong Kong. So we could get it manufactured for cheaper than people are used to in Europe, and
Mm.
they have the buying power that they will pay 800 euros, 1,000 euros or more, and still consider it a cheap suit.
So what you guys were doing then was obviously, as we mentioned before, it was men's. Was it suits just for men or women, and your experience in there?
So when I started it, to make new clients, I used to make a lot of cold calls,
Right.
and I would only target men to begin with, mainly lawyers and bankers, whoever number is easily accessible on the internet.
Right.
A lot of work went in to even gather the email addresses and phone numbers of people from internet. And then if some client was happy and he said that, my female colleague or my wife or girlfriend wants a suit, then like, okay, like, I would do that as well. But man, I remember those days. I went for my first trip and I would be staying in a hotel in Europe, paying for that, paying for food, and then making cold calls after cold calls and not getting a yes, and no one agreeing to meet. And I remember like sitting in that small hotel room, sometimes I would have tears in my eyes. Like, I'm spending all this money and I'm not earning anything. Like, what have I gotten myself into? And then one person would agree to meet and like, yes, yes, finally someone agreed. I still made enough money on that trip to cover for my expenses barely. But then when I went next time, and someone who was happy, he was like, "Yeah, I'll buy a couple of more suits. Now I'm happy." And by the way, a couple of my colleagues looked at these suits and they liked them, so they would like to buy. And I was like, "Wow, like I've made so many phone calls to get one appointment and to sell one suit, and now I'm just getting it, doing nothing." So a lot
Absolutely.
of times you might feel that you're putting in the hard work and you're not getting the result, but it's just a matter of time. It doesn't go to waste. It comes back. Like, you put in the hard work, and then sometimes things will come where you think that you didn't put in the hard work, but they are eventually the result of hard work that you put in. Because a lot of people, after making 10 calls and getting rejected, are like, shit, I cannot do it. I'm done for the day. I've faced enough rejection. But
Yeah.
what if that 11th call was supposed to be the one where you were going to get the appointment and 5 more clients through that client?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny how when you're going through the struggle, you cry and you go through the pain. Nobody says it, but once you've overcome the struggle, it's easier to tell the story. And I know you're
Yeah.
making it sound so simple now, but um, I am actually one of your clients, and that's not even from you calling me. That's from me finding you. And the reality is that you've put in so much work from earlier for me to be able to even find you. And that's what people don't see is that the early stage is super, super painful, very hard to do. The
Yeah.
fact that you even left your IT job, you came all the way from India, took a major bank loan, right, to come to America to get your master's degree. Then you're like, yes, I'm accomplishing my goals. Then you go to Wisconsin, get a job, then the market crashes, and then you lose your job, and you're like, what the? I am screwed. Then you have to go back to India. So you probably have to sell everything that you had in Wisconsin to start back at zero after you thought you've made so much. So it's going back and then starting back all over again, like literally quitting your IT job to go and do your clothing business. It's a whole new field. People are very scared to start from scratch. And you just told us the
Yes.
story, your early stages of your clothing line. And it sounds so simple and quiet and everything, but I'm sure it was hell.
Remember that time when I'm telling you that I had tears in my eyes sitting in that hotel room? Like I can actually picture myself sitting in that hotel room right now. And I remember the times and how tough they were. But you know what? Like a very cliche thing that a coal turns into diamond after going through a lot of pressure. So
Yeah.
I just believe that all those tough times make you a more polished person.
Absolutely. I think those going through this, from what you're explaining to me right now, right? It's I would say, and let me know if I'm onto something here. We could embody this as just taking leaps of faith, right? Being consistent and having that mental toughness, right? Because it's easy for people to give up, right? Especially when things are going your way. And for, like you said, you could do 10 calls and maybe the 11th one was the one. There's a lot of people who give up right before that 11th call. Now it
Yeah.
requires discipline. It just requires that next level of dedication, right? To keep going. For you, what would you say kept you pushing? What would you say help? What did you do to maintain that discipline and to just keep pushing to that level? Because it as simple as it sounds, this does not happen a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't consider myself the most disciplined person. Like I'm not an early morning person, but the thing is that actually my dad used to say about me that if Hirsch does something, he'll do it right or he will not do it.
Right.
So I just believe in that if you're going to do something, do it right. Like even if I was making phone calls and different things work for different people. If you're sitting in your pajamas and making those phone calls, you might not sound that confident. You just
Right.
got to know what works for you. I would actually dress up and be in my suit and be walking around, and I felt like that my tone was most confident. So I would do that. It's funny that whenever I face tough times, what keeps me going, you might find it funny, but it works for me. The thought that comes into my mind is, this is my movie. I am the hero of this movie, and this movie is not going to end like
I
this.
like that.
Oh, dude, that is pretty awesome. I
That's
like
another
that.
good one.
Yeah, I've not heard that before. No, that's pretty cool. I mean, and that's if that's what works, man, to keep the mindset going, man. I think that is amazing. I'm actually gonna use that now. Can I borrow that? That's awesome.
Sure.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Kenny and I met at a networking event.
Right.
We a lot of people say that, oh, he got lucky. He was at the right place at the right time.
Mm.
But I say people build their own luck. Like you cannot be at the right place at the right time sitting on your couch watching Netflix. Like you have to be places to be at the right place at the right time. You have to meet the right people, and you increase the chances by being at places. I would give up
Yeah.
a happy hour to be at a networking event, and you'll meet a lot of people, and there will be one click. Like I met one client, and he liked it, and through him, I got more clients. So yes, it could be luck that I got lucky with that one client, but I was doing it over and over again to be at those networking events.
Yeah.
Someone said it to me, and it stuck with me, that what is luck? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So opportunity will come whenever it has to come. What can you do? You can prepare so that when that opportunity comes, they can combine to form that luck.
Right.
So just be prepared. And I feel like that even at my work now, which is not my own business, but still for me to be successful, what all I have to do to climb those ladders. Like I work on it every day, because whenever that promotion has to come, it will come. But I have to be ready in people's mind. They should feel like that, yes, he's the guy. So in order to be there in people's mind, I have to work every day to impress them.
Being intentional about just what you do every day and
Yeah.
giving it your best. I love it.
Yeah, because you are in a company, let's say, and you haven't thought about the next level, and you're not working towards it. And one day that next level position opens up. Okay, so now if you're going to start impressing the people, do you think it's going to work? Or if internally they already knew what your personality is or how you work, or they were already impressed, is that going to work better? They say that you don't dig a well when your house is on fire.
Right. This is very
I
true.
like how you throw all those little bits, man. This guy's
Hey
another
man,
farmer in the house.
this man is planting the seeds, and I'm loving it.
Yo, you don't build a well when your house is on fire. That's for sure.
Yeah, you build it ahead of time. Yeah.
And I think this kind of leads to the next question, which is, the habits of building the well before the house catches on fire. It's something that people need to have, which is, how do you undertake a future goal, or where do you vision yourself tomorrow? Some people talk about it, but some people actually literally take actions on a daily basis, which is what we call habits, to get them there. So, which habits do you do, do you apply into your life that gets you to that next level? Because I mean, your growth has been super fast. It's just switching to an entire new career, actually switching to a entirely new career, and then switching again to an entire new career. You've done that twice now, like what, 3 times now?
Yeah.
Um,
And you level up within that
each
space,
time, yeah,
and you can't say that it's luck,
yeah,
right? And you can't say it's being at the right place at the right time. I think, which, by the way, going back to the right place at the right time thing, I believe that being at the right place at the right time just means that you are where it's really comes down to the proximity principle, being where people are doing the things that you're doing,
yeah.
right place at the right time. So
And to answer Kenny's question, I strongly believe in building genuine relationships. Not a relationship where you're like, okay, this guy might be useful to me sometime in the future. No, just genuine relationships where they can like you as you are without any self-interest. This is something that, I wish I would have known when I was much, much younger, that, just the education or getting good grades is not the most important thing, but building relationships is very simple things. Like when I was preparing for my GRE to come to US, there was a guy who would come to those classes as well, and he was alone, and I would go with my friend. But every day, like when I would meet him and I would see him sitting alone, I would just say hi to him. That's all, nothing much. Eventually, it so happens that I was still in my undergrad, and it so happened that he came to be the professor in my college. And
oh wow.
and just having that relationship with him of saying hi, not ignoring him or letting him sit alone, um, it worked out really well for me. It's a long story. Some thing happened with one other student, and the professor had to intervene to fix things. And then when I was switching my career again from custom clothing company to get into business analysis, I did the training, but now I needed to find a job. And I was talking to one of the guys who's on my cricket team, that, hey, I'm looking for a job. And he's like, oh, you can apply to my company. And when you're switching careers, somebody willing to take that chance on you to put their reputation on the line, they need to be impressed with you. And you cannot start impressing someone like when you're looking for a job. Like I must have impressed him over the last few years when I was playing cricket with him, with the way I talked to him or the way I behaved. And I built a relationship with him, because no matter how impressive you are, if you did not build a good relationship with someone, they'll still not help you. So I strongly believe that building relationships
Definitely
is a big key to success. even at work, I attribute my promotions to those relationships because I've heard some people say that, when you're working for 8 hours, you're productive only for 5, 6 hours. And if you're doing something else, then you're wasting time. But if I'm socializing with someone at work, I don't consider that a waste of time. I would bump into someone in the pantry and I would talk to them about something absolutely not related to work. But now I have a relationship with that person and I keep building on it as we bump into each other. And it really helps because I was on one project and I got put into another project. And when you have to start working with someone new, it's difficult to get things done. But if you have a cool relationship with someone, they're like, oh yeah, her said it, yeah, I'll do it. So it's much easier to get that work done if you have a relationship already.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what we call networking, right? It's very, very critical to network.
Networking, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I love it. My next question here for you is just, what would you say? Is there something that you feel that you wish you knew in the beginning? And what would you share with someone out there who is just starting off, right? Maybe taking on their own path. What would you share with them? And what is something that you wish you knew early on?
Yeah, I think I touched upon that I wish that when I was younger or starting, I knew that, when I don't know about other countries, but in India, at least, parents are always like, go to school, get good grades,
Yeah.
and getting good grades should be your primary focus. Yes, you can go play for an hour, fine, but during exams, no, you're not going out to play. So it was like so focused on academics, and no, like they never even told me that work towards building a good personality or building good relationships with people. So I wish all those soft skills that we call, people should be focused on that, and simple things like being a good listener. You got 1 mouth to speak, 2 ears to listen. There's the purpose. You have to listen more than you speak. Even if you're in an argument, you are arguing with a complete idiot, you still have to listen so that you can come back with a better counter. Like, how are you going to argue if you didn't even listen to what the other person said?
I think listening is a big one. I really like that. Amazing.
And it shows respect for the other person that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then the next question is, would that answer be the same answer you would give someone out there? One little word of wisdom for someone that is out there studying out as well.
Yes, if somebody is absolutely focusing on their academics and just grades, I would say no. Like, your personality and your relationship building skills are way more important, because when you look at your own education and you see that how much you apply it at work, you would realize that not much. Most of the stuff you learn when you're working that you'll use. So I don't think that getting the best grades should be the primary focus. And I, like, when I have a kid, I would definitely tell them to be involved in sports a lot. I have learned so much from sports. Like, you talk about my mindset, I absolutely give credit to the sports that I've been playing, that no matter how much I'm losing, let's say I'm playing racquetball or any other sport, and I'm down, say 9-1 for a game to 11. I still don't give up. I still just feel like that if I keep working 1 point at a time, I can win it. And you wouldn't believe how many times I have actually won. So whether it's an individual sport, it can teach you different things. And when it's a team sport, it can teach you a lot more, like how to get along well with teammates, how to motivate other people, and how to work as a cohesive unit. All those skills in a real world are much more important than academics.
That's a big one right there. I would say we can add video games to that as well.
Hey, you never know, man. Sometimes you need to get on and get rowdy. just to get closer to some people. Man, I'm really loving this. I think that this is really cool because it ties into actually something interesting in the bio which you sent us. It ties into the 4 pillars of success which you sent in there, right? Personal relationships, professional success, mental health, and physical health. And you went on to also say that if you compromise one for the other, it's not worth it.
Yeah, another a little story I'll attach to this answer.
Right.
Um, so when I was doing the custom clothing business, and so now imagine that since I left my master's, I had one job, the second job, then I'm into my custom clothing business. So now other people who finished their education with me, like they must have climbed some ladders, must be doing okay.
Yeah.
And my dad asks me, so why haven't you guys bought a home yet? And I was like, Dad, I don't have money for the down payment. And my dad very casually says that, like, you've been working for so many years, how come you're still hand to mouth? And hand to mouth means that how come you're just able to fulfill your means and not
Two
able to
paychecks
save
a month. Yeah.
anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just said it, but at least in my country and maybe in Africa as well, kids grow up and they just want to make their parents feel proud.
Proud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when my dad said that, and you know, there are some things that are revolving in your head already, and then when your dad says it, it just makes it even more serious. So you're like, okay, so I'm not successful. My dad does not see me as a successful person. I don't have a house yet. Other people who graduated with me have a house. And it was like kind of a mini depression. I never got into a major depression, but it's
Yeah.
good that I always had my best friend that I can talk to, anything, no judgment. I can open up. And he told me that, why are you depressed? Yes, you're not making enough money as some other people, but would you like to exchange your life with them? Would you like to exchange your life with me? I make more money than you, but you are healthier than me. Your marital situation is better than mine is. I was like, yeah, no. He's like, would you like to exchange your life with that other guy that we know who earns a lot more money, but he cannot play the sports like you do. He's not as likable when he meets people. So it will be whole package. Like when you exchange your life with someone, you'll be exactly like them. I'm like, no. So I realized that yes, you know, success is not just earning money. Or how many people become Bill Gates, Elon Musk, or Zuckerberg, and that is only like the professional success part. Like, yes, they can be professionally very successful, but Bill Gates just got divorced. Like, would you want that in your life? I think it's not worth it. So when I gave up my custom clothing business, it was like I was traveling 6 to 8 months out of a year, and I got married. I knew that having a happy married life is very important. So if that business is coming in way, so I sold my business, but I still didn't want to be miserable being a software developer. So we found a middle ground and got a job. So, and then I succeeded in this as well. So professional success is there. I maintain a good relationship with my wife, and I maintain good relationships with like my close relatives and friends. Thirdly, people can have that, but then if they're physically miserable, they're not able to enjoy that. So you need to take out time to work on your health as well. I keep myself involved in different sports, like whether it's racquetball, or cricket or volleyball. These days, I've started playing pickleball. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
And then enjoy the money that you're earning to maintain your mental peace. Because chasing the money, if you're not able to maintain all those 4 pillars, like uh, like if you have a building that's standing on 4 pillars, and if you remove one pillar, it's not strong enough and it will crumble one day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in this kind of something I've always spoken about with people. And I think Kenny, I spoke about about this with you as well at one point. Where I said, you have to define who you are as a person. You have to understand what your morals are going to be and things like that before you become extremely wealthy, right? Because there are extremely wealthy people that take themselves out, right? And that is a blaring flag that money is not the answer, right? Because if you have all the money and you have everything, and why would you kind of, so absolutely. I think that when I read this, when you sent it, man, it spoke to me. So yeah, thank you for that. I'm actually gonna save that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, because a lot of people actually think being Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, like one day I'll make it there, or other millionaires whose names
Yeah.
we don't know. But no, like very, very few people get to that level of earning. But it's not only that limited number of people who are successful, at least in my opinion, or as per my definition.
Yeah.
Um, Success is a combination of all four if you can manage, which is not an easy thing. Like just maintaining a happy married life in itself is not an easy thing. So having all four, very difficult.
I can give you guys advice on that. That is why I'm not married.
I
Nah,
leave that to both of us. Huh?
no, I'm kidding. But no, go ahead.
All right, man. I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit here. So one of the most popular questions that we ask on this show, uh, is about challenges, right? And I know you've already told us about a couple of them here. But can you give us maybe your number one most difficult challenge and how you got through it? Because the goal here is to show people that challenges are just projectiles to push you to the next level, and I'm sure you've actually advanced to multiple advanced levels after being through several challenges. So can you tell us one of your most greatest challenge and how you overcame it?
It's a tough one because, as I said, that how the life has been a roller coaster for me. Like there have been different kinds of challenges of different complexity. Like some of them, like now when I look at my life, I would probably not even consider as a challenge. Coming from India to US to a new country and doing all those things that I talked about, that was a challenge in itself. And then, as I said, that losing my first job like came as a shock, the first setback that I have seen in my life. So overcoming that is a challenge in itself. And then making decisions twice to switch career it's not easy. So that is challenging. But I feel like that when I lost my job in Wisconsin and then I had to move back to India, like that was the biggest challenge. Probably because it hit me for the first time that how life can just quickly change. And I was very happy in a developed country, making good money, enjoying life, clean air, clean water, which it's not, people don't take it for granted in India. So when I was growing up in India, whatever shortcomings it had as a country, you don't know any better, so you just live with it. But now when you've lived in US in a developed country and you see how much better things can be, then when you have to go back, and especially when it's not your own choice, you're forced to go back now because you lost your job. So just the challenge of finding a job, overcoming that mental setback that maybe I was not good enough, that's why I lost my job, and then trying to find a new job, and at the same time trying to reintegrate in your own country. um, it is kind of
Yeah.
reintegration to see all of those shortcomings and deal with that and still not behave in a way that people start seeing you as an outsider.
Yeah.
You're talking to me right now.
Man. Oh yeah, Kenny, you did go back
Oh,
to
all
Nigeria
right,
at one
man.
point there.
I did move back to Nigeria for 2 years, and you feel like a foreigner in your own country.
Oh
Uh,
man.
yeah.
Every little thing bothers you, like a person not holding the door for you will bother you. People not saying thank you or please or sorry will bother you. Like when you hold the door for someone, they wouldn't say thank you as if like, I'm their servant, I was supposed to hold the door for them. Or
Oh man.
someone in office, like if they bump into my chair by mistake, no excuse me or sorry there. And then of course all the corruption and dirty streets and air pollution, all those things
Outage.
bother you as well.
Dirty water,
of course.
smelly
Absolutely.
stuff.
Oh man. But look at that. Despite all of that, and which first of all, I cannot even begin to imagine what that is like. I know we all go through different challenges, but when you listen to each other's challenge, it's pretty intense. I can't even begin to imagine how that is, and to still push through all of that and still get back to the US and keep striving and
And I'll
leveling
tell
up.
you, losing that job like stuck in my brain for a lot longer than I thought it would. Even
Mm.
after I left my custom clothing business and I started this job as a business analyst, I had it in the back of my mind that last time I had a job in the US, I lost it. Like, am I good enough to hold on to a job?
Mm.
But then I did really well, and after the first promotion, it got over. I was like, yes, I'm good enough.
Absolutely.
That psychological impact is major, man. I think that's why sometimes it's difficult for basketball boxers to come back from a loss
From
because
defeats and things like that.
yeah, from a defeat.
Yeah.
Like, am I that good? Uh, how do you
Listen,
psychologically kick yourself back in gear?
you cannot clarify that you're really not good. Now, okay, there's two concepts here, and this is how I look at it, right? I don't want to be good. That's one thing. When I approach any situation, I try to look at it as like, hey, I could be the worst at this thing, but I'm just gonna go for it. And whatever happens, happens. What happens is at the end of that situation, I tend to surprise myself. Now, of course, this is situational, depending on the way you look at it, right? Second, in a situation where you know that you clearly have to go back and take on something again, like say like a boxer, right? I think you should at least get beat down 3 times, right? Then you can go, hey, you know what? I'm not good at this, right? And then you can start considering something else. This kind of goes back to that concept where I say, you can put a ladder against the wall, and anyone can put a ladder against the wall and climb the ladder, but it's the ladder against the correct wall, right? So, and sometimes you could be climbing the ladder, and when you're up there, you need to now look at it and say, hey, maybe this is not the wall I want to be on. I should
Get
come
back
down,
on the ladder. I go
right,
climb
and
another
reach
one.
another wall. Exactly. So,
Yeah,
it's
and
go ahead.
that reminds me of uh, two things. Like, like you need to know when to give up as well. Yes, giving
Yeah,
up is, you always hear from people, don't give up. But no, like there are some times when you should give up instead of
yeah,
wasting more time. After my high school, my dad really wanted me to go to IIT, Indian Institute of Technology. It's like the top-notch institute. Like hundreds of thousands of people apply for it, and only 1,000 or so get in there, and it's really tough. So I got into the institute to train to get into that institute, and even in that training, I saw other people who had been preparing for 2 years already, and they're
yeah,
even willing to waste 1 or 2 years and try over and over again to get in there because they know that once you get in here, the life is set. So they knew a lot more. Like, teacher would ask something, and everyone would raise their hand, and I was like, Dad, I think I want to give up on this. I cannot compete in this class. I don't think I'll be able to compete at the all India level.
yeah,
So what will happen is that I'll waste 1 year and get nothing out of it. So my dad was not too happy about it, but he talked to some other people, and they said that, you know what, like if he goes to not the best college, but even to a decent college, and if he stays on top of the line there, he will get a job, and it will be okay. So my dad agreed, and that's what I did. And then other thing about giving up is that self-doubt is okay. It's natural. It will happen a lot in your life. But just because you have self-doubt doesn't mean that you stop doing it. Like when I play cricket, I tell people that when there's a fly ball,
right.
you might think that even if you run, you will not be able to get there. But forget about the end result, but just start running. Just start running towards the ball, and you will be surprised how many times you are able to get there. So
Absolutely.
yes, I had self-doubt when I started this job, but didn't mean that I stopped working hard. I kept the doubt in the background and the hard work on the foreground.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You must identify that point of diminishing returns, right? And from what you're saying there, and because it is a real thing, you cannot just keep hammering away and just push for it despite the self-doubt.
I
Go
get this
ahead, Kenny.
question from people a lot about schools, like which school should I go to? Should I go to Stanford? Should I go to Harvard? Should I go to all these big colleges? And I'm like, yes, of course. But if you don't have the networking skills, like
Mm.
Harsh just talked about, it's a waste of time and money. What comes out at the end of the day is that if you're not able to mingle and work with those really good, smart kids in those schools, or network with those really rich kids in those schools and come out of that school starting up your own business or working for a major Fortune 500 at the top, then you've just wasted your investment.
Mr. Harsh, we're coming to the end of the show here. Now, usually this is when we ask, what is your definition of success, man? But I can't even ask that question right now because you have blown it out of the park, man.
Yes, sir.
You've definitely, yeah, left some really good nuggets here and some things that I think I would also take and apply to my personal life, right? It's just that good. Now, before we close it out, just one more thing here. What is your why, and why? What keeps you going despite all the challenges you faced?
I think I answered this one
Well, you did answer this
as
as
well.
well too. But just
When I
to
said
close out
that,
the show, a summarized version of it, right? Just what your why is and what keeps you pushing. Because I don't think, I mean, listen, just sitting here and listening to everything you've explained, it's like you just touched on everything, man. I don't even feel like we needed to ask you anything. We just had to listen. It was one of those. We just had to
no,
listen.
it was the funny one that I said. And
Which one?
yes, when you say it, it definitely sounds funny, but it actually works for me. When I think about it, like think of me in a tough situation, shoulders down, and at that point I start thinking, this life is my movie. I am the hero of this movie, and it's not gonna end
Oh,
like
Let's
damn.
go,
Is
Superman.
that wait, what state are you in at that point? Because there's really one situation that happens. The good guy in the movie gets beat down a lot, right? And then like at the last minute, when he's about to just get taken out, he just gains his strength out of nowhere and rises full
it just
blown,
makes me get back up, and I'm
right?
like, if I'm not winning, then it's not the end of the movie.
Hey, there you go.
That's a good one
Amazing.
right there.
This is a good one. Oh man, this has been pretty fun. This has been awesome. Mr. Harsh, thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, Kenny.
Thank you for having me. It was my honor, and if even one person can take some good advice out of this conversation and apply it in their life and achieve something, it will be worth it.
Absolutely, man. And it's been a lot of good advice. Kenny, go ahead.
Hey man, everything you just talked about are things that people get out of books, 400 pages long, and we just hit it in less than an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the invitation.
Love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, again, we want to thank Mr. Hash for joining us on the show today. Please follow us on Instagram, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers sometime this year. Don't leave us hanging. And until next time, Che out.
Double O Kelly.
All right, signing out.